ever hear yourself saying, "That is ridiculous. That is so disappointing. You're being so selfish and thoughtless. That was stupid." These phrases are loaded with judgment and blame. What we know for sure is that when there is judgment like this, there is usually also shame. And shame triggers that fight, flight, freeze response that we talked about in the first film. Judgment and shame are two ingredients best to avoid if you want calm, effective communication.
What we found is that if instead of that judgment, we observe more and judge less, remarkable things happen. When people hear less criticism and feel more understood, they're much more likely to be open and cooperative with us. Now, I certainly feel more like cooperating with people who are understanding rather than judging me. And I guess that you probably do too. In the first film, we looked at seeing behaviour as a gift, wondering what might be sitting behind the behaviour and what skills children and young people might be lacking. When we don't feel confident or safe in a situation, because we don't know what to do and how to handle it well, those big feelings, shame, embarrassment, fear, anger, frustration, sadness, they can overwhelm us. Equally, when we hear judgment or criticism from others, those big feelings can kick in too.
The key practice here is putting a full stop in our thoughts and words. We all know the phrase, "quit while you're ahead." The full stop is that quitting. The idea is that we observe the facts of a situation and then put a big old full stop into our thoughts or the words we speak out loud. As hard as it might be, it's helpful not to go on and try to explain why the situation happened or diagnose the person or people involved as being stupid, selfish, arrogant, and so on. We can just observe the facts of what happened as we see them, as if we were commentating on a video clip, and then we stop. We literally just say what we see, then a full stop.
So for instance, we might open the door to a teenager's bedroom and observe an unmade bed, used plates and cups on the floor, curtains drawn in the middle of the day, and the smell of unwashed, sweaty sports gear. Full stop. Well, we might be tempted to let our thoughts run on into, "This is a tip, it looks like a bomb's hit it, they're so lazy, they have no respect, better not complain to me when they can't find clean clothes on Monday." We can try to check ourselves and put in a full stop. It's another opportunity for that pause and take a breath that we talked about in the first film too. Again, this doesn't mean that you accept behaviour that's not okay for you and your family. This is a technique to practice so that when you would prefer to see some behaviour change, it's more likely to happen because no one involved gets too wrapped up in those big feelings that can affect how well we can think and problem solve together.
Here's another example with two ways of talking and thinking about the same situation. You want to spend time with your child and they're focused on being on a screen. That is the thing that happened. But the story we tell ourselves often as parents is, why are they ignoring me? Why do they care more about the screen than me? I'm a bad parent for not stopping them get addicted to this thing. What if it's damaging them? So if we put a full stop at the end of, they are on their screen, take a pause and a deep breath, we're more likely to be able to talk calmly to our children and tell them that screen time will be over in 5 minutes. And this avoids the, "You never listen, why are you always on that screen, what's wrong with you?" So you can see how the full stop helps to build and maintain trust in our relationships and helps us communicate well with our children and in turn teaches them the skills to communicate well with us.
Another way of looking at this is there's the thing that happened and the story we tell ourselves about the thing that happened. We're natural storytellers, and this serves a purpose for our safety and comfort. We want to make sense of things, and when we feel uncomfortable, we have a very strong drive to fill the gap of not knowing by making stuff up if necessary. And in the short term, we feel more secure, in control, safer when we know. Also, blame and shame puts the responsibility out there onto other people or circumstances. So we don't have to think so much about how uncomfortable we feel. We try and give that uncomfortable feeling away, if you like. So this process of putting in the full stop It isn't necessarily easy, but it is effective if we can let some of that vulnerability in. We don't have to explain big feelings away. We can just feel them.
Here's an example of exploring that storytelling with a child I know. A 12-year-old recently said to me, "What's wrong with me? I feel sad or angry all of the time." He was telling himself, the story, that there was something seriously wrong with him and that he was different to everyone else because of what he was feeling. His behaviour with these big feelings was either lashing out at siblings or ranting at parents, or he was withdrawn behind a screen. I said, "There is nothing wrong with you. You are feeling big emotions, and that's normal because school has closed, you can't see your friends, you're stuck at home with no routine, and the world is uncertain at the moment. Plus, you are hitting puberty. There's nothing wrong with you. Your big feelings are there because you've had to manage some massive changes, and life is pretty different at the moment." The relief I saw in this child was huge. I'd helped him let go of the story that there was something wrong with him. I said out loud what was happening for him.
We can be brave as adults and say what we see, and let children and young people tell us what they're seeing for themselves. Parents and carers have often told us that they're sometimes scared to say what they see or ask what's wrong for fear of opening up a can of worms. Their experience tells us things are seldom as bad as our imaginations lead us to believe. It's like when big shadows are cast by tiny things and we're scared of the shadow. When we move things into the light, we can see things for what they really are. The full stop keeps us on track, so we're only ever dealing with what's happening in the here and now, and on facts that can be observed and agreed by everyone. Everything else is a story, a judgment or a diagnosis, and all of those things make communication much more complicated. So that's our top tip here. Put full stops in our own thoughts and words, and help your children to put full stops in theirs.